Hello, everyone. Got my large water bottle here as it's been really hot in Vegas lately. And I just wanted to film a more casual video to go over why I took some time off of streaming and what I've been up to during that time. Whether you're an artist looking for new perspectives or if you're just curious, I hope I can provide some valuable insights by sharing my experiences as I'll be digging deep into some more personal and mental health related stuff here as well. By the way, just got back from the Electric Forest Music Festival, which was a wonderful time. I did get a bit sick afterwards, unfortunately, but I'm finally feeling better and I'm ready to be here and hang out with y'all. I also started streaming a few weeks ago here on YouTube. If you want to be informed of future streams and content, make sure you subscribe to my channel and give this video a thumbs up while you're at it. There are several reasons why I took some time off of streaming that I want to go over, mainly having to do with how the Twitch platform and how my streaming routine was having an effect on my career at the time. A little background about my streaming history. I started streaming on the Twitch platform in March 2019 after I quit my full-time job. And I used streaming as a way to have company as I went through and studied this anatomy book right here. Because I figured if I'm going to quit my job and focus on my art career, I need to be serious about getting my fundamentals down. So I did it. I studied every page, every bone, every joint, every muscle in the human body, and it really, really helped. And once I was done with the book, I just continued to stream whatever I was working on. And I streamed for about 4 to 5 hours per day, 3 days a week. So my channel continued to grow, and a couple of years later, I ended up with about a 40 to 50 average views per stream, which really isn't bad at all. These metrics brought attention to my moderators and my community that, hey, maybe we can double down on the streaming to do a partner push. Since in order to be a Twitch partner, you need 75 average viewers. We can get more moderators, add more community involvement, and just overall put more energy into viewer retention to get that shiny Twitch partner checkmark. So I'm like, okay, sounds good. I'll have a think about it. So one day I was sitting on the back porch overlooking the beautiful snowy mountains of Colorado. Really gorgeous view, by the way. And just thinking, do I really want to do this partner push? How is this going to benefit me in the long term? And I really had a chance to just take a step back and reevaluate what things in my life were serving me and where I wanted to take my art career in 3, 5, even 10 years in the future. And after some thought, I decided that I was already feeling pretty burnt out from streaming, as much as I have been. And it wasn't worth the effort to push myself to achieve a check mark, some more emote slots, while still only retaining 50% share of my subscriber and fan funding income. No. So I decided to stop streaming on Twitch before it got even harder to leave. And trust me, it was already a difficult decision to begin with. I knew that I wanted to come back to streaming again one day since I still enjoyed it, but I wanted to come back to it at a more casual approach and prioritize YouTube as a platform instead. If you want to know more about that, I made a video last month about why I canceled my Twitch affiliate and more about why I prefer YouTube as a platform moving forward. This video is kind of a sequel to that, so please check it out if you haven't yet. So, in addition to how I felt about my future with the Twitch platform, I was also feeling burnt out from streaming in general, which was a bummer because it was something that I really enjoyed doing for a long time. But honestly, streaming for 12 to 15 hours a week was a lot. And that's just counting on camera time. Off camera, I still had things to do to maintain the stream, the community, and to make sure I had artwork at a stage where I can start to divide my attention between focusing on the artwork and the stream at the same time. And to make sure that the artwork was ready enough to be presentable on camera. On top of all that, as conventions and craft shows started to open back up, I also spent a lot of time working on merchandise manufacturing for exhibiting, along with art commissions and design work for steady income. So it got to the point where the only time I had in my week to brainstorm new ideas was an hour before streams, which only gave me enough time to quickly find neat looking reference pictures on Pinterest to draw. Like, oh hey, here's a girl with some cool looking street clothes, and let's add some flowers and a skull and like some mushrooms. Boom, easy done. And I found myself doing this stream after stream and not really having the time to try something new or really think about how to push myself technically or conceptually or however else I needed to take my art to the next level. It took me a while, but I soon realized that I was stuck in this cycle where my main drive for making art was for the purpose of growing my channel so viewers can feel more enticed to follow, subscribe, and support my work. Basically, at this point, I was only making my art for content. I no longer had the time or energy to make art just for me. I didn't have time to make bad art. I didn't allow myself time to fail and make mistakes because all my energy was spent on trying to make art that looked good enough for content. Eventually, I started to feel so bored with my work because making mistakes, failing, and making bad art, that is where the real magic happens. And I was so focused on my stream and my business that I just lost sight of my priorities. That my number one goal as an artist is to be able to continue to learn and to grow with my work. So, taking a huge step back really helped me see that. And because it's so easy for full time artists to fall into this trap of prioritizing their business over their artistic growth. So during my break, I was able to reconnect with myself creatively. I had a chance to try new mediums and revisit old mediums like acrylic painting, which I stopped doing because I felt I wasn't good enough with them as I was with inking. I bought some spray paints and I got to play with them for the first time in my backyard. There's definitely a learning curve to that style of medium, but it was a lot of fun. I took Thomas Luhardy's caricature class to help me bring more life and dynamic movement to my subjects, and Tonko House's painting course on light and color to help me better understand form and lighting and painting. It felt very refreshing to be a student again. I also taught myself how to screen print. Since I was getting back into exhibiting at shows, I wanted to think of ways on how to add a variety to my products and to put my art on apparel. Ended up making some cool shirts and hoodies, and I've decided that I really want to keep exploring the apparel route as far as merchandise goes. So if you want to stay in the loop with what I'll be making next, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter, and I'll have that link in the description below. And most importantly, I just started sketching more. I made a lot of art just for fun without the pressure of it trying to look good. And most importantly, I made it just for me. This really helped remove the pressure to involve myself more with social media. I feel like a lot of artists these days are so wrapped up in trying to find ways to hack the algorithm or post as much as possible to gain as many Instagram followers. But honestly, what is that even going to do for you? Even if you were to gain a lot of followers, that doesn't equate to having a lot of sales. And trust me, there are a lot of artists out there with a large following on social media accounts that can vouch for this. I've also noticed that a lot of artists also feel like they have to apologize for not posting as much or being absent from a platform or even just taking a couple days off, which is pretty sad to me that artists feel like they have to apologize for taking some time for themselves. I feel like no one should ever have to apologize for that. But since artists are typically self employed, they tend to be very hard on themselves. So, with that being said, drawing just for me and feeling less pressure to make content naturally led to me feeling less inclined to be on social media all the time. And I noticed myself begin to feel so much lighter because I got rid of these imaginary obligations that I set up myself up with. I took some time off from streaming, which opened up my schedule to explore different artistic avenues, and it gave me a chance to have more time to be introspective, which helped a lot, but it was also not easy. I was raised by a very hardworking mother. I mean, this lady always had something going on. Growing up, I didn't think much of it, and I was always the type of person in my college years who was always doing something from the minute I opened my eyes until I went to bed. I studied a lot because I wanted to get straight A's. I had a part time job and I had a cosplaying hobby. And any cosplayers out there, you know how crazy that can get. And I carried on this lifestyle until years later I started to realize that wait, I don't think this is healthy. I started to become self-aware that I was living my life in this constant state of anxiety and not always being present because my mind was always thinking about how I could be 5 steps ahead. As you could have guessed, this carried through my art and streaming career. When I gave myself the opportunity to begin my career as a self employed artist, I knew how difficult this path was going to be. So I wanted to make sure that I was always doing the best job that I possibly could. The part that really sucks is whenever I finally came across some downtime or when I forced myself to take a break, I just couldn't enjoy it. I didn't know how to relax. I always ended up not knowing to do with my free time or how to enjoy it even. And as a result of that, it just made me feel depressed. Now, knowing what I just told you, you can see why taking a break from streaming was pretty difficult for me. It got to the point where I no longer felt happy about the things that I accomplished. I mean, some pretty badass stuff happened during my break. I broke records with Artist Alley sales. I won a bike rack design competition and had my designs installed throughout the city of Henderson. I mean, that's pretty cool, right? But at the time, I was just like, whatever. And I still felt like I wasn't good enough. It just made me sad that it was difficult to enjoy things that I worked so hard for. And I was tired of it. I hated that I was either in this state of constant anxiety, and whenever I tried to take a break, I would just end up feeling depressed. I hated that trying to get to the middle ground just felt so elusive. And I told myself I've had enough. I need to get this figured out, especially before I got back into streaming. So I gave myself a mental health week where I just put everything down and focused on trying to get to the bottom of all this to discover why I was feeling this way and what changes I can make moving forward. So I searched and I searched for as many helpful resources as I can find. And I came across this book called The Perfectionist Guide to Losing Control, A Path Towards Peace and Power by psychotherapist Catherine Schaffler, which really helped me define the source of where some of my mental health issues came from. The book starts off with a quiz to determine what kind of perfectionist you are. As it turns out, a lot of my traits were associated with being a procrastinator perfectionist. Basically, meaning that I put so much effort into planning and making sure that everything goes well from all angles. But once it comes time to actually do the thing, I lose motivation because I feel like it's not going to be good enough. And that right there really called me out. I've surrounded myself with a wonderful network of talented artists, and it's both inspiring and daunting at the same time. I so badly just want to make work more than just copying something that I see. I want to make work that will move the earth between beneath people's feet. And in order to do this, whenever I start a piece, I feel like everything needs to be the best it can be, from technical rendering, form, anatomy, composition, color, if I'm going to bring that in. Does it tell a story? Does the meaning translate? And it's just so much that it really ends up wearing me out, which is why creating bad art has been such a good thing for me. To be able to draw anything I want without worrying about all that stuff is a really healing exercise, which takes me back to why I loved art in the first place. I was surprised with how much this book really resonated with me. I would actually love to do a whole video going over artists and perfectionism because I feel like a lot of artists are inhibited by their own perfectionism as well. But the biggest takeaway that I got from this book was that I should not treat perfectionism as a flaw, but instead to view it as a trait with both adaptive and maladaptive qualities, and to learn how to embrace the adaptive qualities of perfectionism. This really helped me shift my perspective to begin working with the qualities of who I am instead of trying to work against them. Trying to find that balance is still something I'm working on, but taking that week to really focus on my mental health made a huge difference. There were also some more fun and exciting things going on during my streaming break. I got married. We had a wonderful ceremony and reception in our lovely home. Although it was small, it was still a lot of work to plan, since we did just about everything ourselves, including the invitations, party favors, decorations, and even flower arrangements. I mean, look at that. Kind of proud of myself there. Our dog Alfred was our best man, who thought my wedding dress was a blanket, by the way. Then we had our honeymoon in Amsterdam and Ibiza. It took 2 weeks there, which were both very incredible experiences in their own ways. So, as you can see, a lot happened during those 18 months, ranging from wonderful to difficult to inspiring and even busy and restful at the same time. It was much needed, and after reevaluating what aspects of my life served me and what didn't, I feel more ready than ever to start this new chapter of my life where I get to help and inspire others through video content, have a more relaxed approach to streaming, and approaching my work with less inhibitions and more creative energy. Hopefully, this video helped you gain some new perspectives. Regardless, thank you so much for watching. If you want me to elaborate more on anything I talked about today, feel free to let me know in the comments. Once again, don't forget to like and subscribe to stay updated with the rest of my content. I'll also be putting my social media links in the description below, including my merch store and the Joyce Rainbow Art Den Discord server, which everyone is welcome to join and share their lovely creations.